places. I'm at the Bankhead House and Heritage Center in Jasper, Alabama, and I'm here with two of my favorite people, Abe and Willadine Leonard. We go to Sunday school together. We have Dr. Dickie Freeman right now is our teacher, and we have Dr. Jerry Lovett, and sometimes Billy Seals. And anyone that is not in our class is missing something, the Trinity Sunday School class at Jasper's First United Methodist Church. The current exhibit is The Magic of Music. This exhibit is running through December 28th, so you still have time to come out and see this great exhibit. As always, these are just too good to miss. And we were curious because Abe had told us about an item that Willadine has in her family. And Willadine, you said this is your mother-in-law's father's item that you have inherited. You want to point to it? And this way. No.
Well, it's just an old violin.
But it's special. It came out. I mean, it's up there on the heirloom for your children.
They enjoy it, and we've enjoyed it.
Oh, it is
but
really...
we wanted everybody else to see it, too.
Oh, it's wonderful. And this gentleman's name, the grandfather's name, is?
Andrew Hanley. He was my husband's grandfather, a Civil War veteran.
Okay. Andrew Hanley. God bless him. And he made it back. And that photo is a group of Civil War veterans.
At a reunion in front of the courthouse in Jasper.
Oh, but it's so old. Of course, it was an old courthouse. But that's amazing. And where is he on that group?
The first row, third from the left.
All right. And, of course, now Abe, your husband, has researched this. We got it done on the let's go through that again. This is the most wonderful love story. Abe Leonard and Willadine were high school sweethearts. And then they went their separate ways. You married and had how many children, Willadine?
One.
And then Abe married. And you had how many children, Abe?
2 sons.
2 sons.
5 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren.
Oh, my gosh. Willadine, did you have any grandchildren, honey?
3 grandsons.
Oh, my goodness. The children gave Abe a wonderful 90th birthday. How long ago was that, Willadine?
It was in February.
11th. February 11th.
Well, it was a wonderful party, and of course we were there with a video camera. It was wonderful. So, and these two, and you got together at a high school reunion, didn't you? Mm-hmm. They saw it again, and then Willadine was on the committee. She had to clean up. And then when you went to your car, who did you see?
Abe was waiting on me.
Oh, aren't you glad you did?
Well, I guess so.
How long have you two been married now?
14.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? And you know, that's not too uncommon for old high school sweethearts to get back together. Little stories like that. And they're wonderful. Oh, we're so glad. But Abe, you did some research on that violin.
Yes, it was made in mid-1800s. Was made by a violin maker by the name of H.O.P.F., a German violin maker. And Willadine's family, or her husband, first husband's family, has had it for many years. The thing I was interested in, it's identical to the one that was played on the Titanic as the Titanic sank.
No way.
Well, it's not the one that was actually played, but that's why I was interested in it.
Oh, that's a great story. Oh, yeah. Anything else? else unusual about it, Abe? Did you find?
Well, I looked at all the features. Everything on it is identical to the one made by that man in Germany. So I think it's valuable. It's priceless to Willowdene anyway.
Oh, absolutely. And that's amazing. Identical to the one on the Titanic. That's an heirloom for your children. I know you're so glad, Willowdene.
Oh, yes.
Now, is that the family
It's
home?
a family home and children. It was a big family. He had 3 wives. He had 3 families and
Children with each wife.
children with each wife. And I never knew him, of course.
But, it's such a treasure. I love it when we can find the home place pictured with the family.
I used to enjoy going to family reunions. We would, on the front yard in front of this house, have a big spread. Yeah, it's torn down now.
But when do you remember what year you were there last for a family reunion? Any idea? 12?
Well, probably 15 years ago.
That recent. Where did they live? Where it's located or was located?
Well, all I know is Beat 10. Everybody knows where Beat 10 is.
Around Oakman, isn't it?
South of Oakman.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Walker County.
Yeah, they said everything from Walker County.
Well, Dane, this is perfect, and what a wonderful thing to display. I tell you, it is a real treasure. I just love seeing it and thinking about the story. Abe, that was great research. Good job. It is a treasure, and seeing that old home, and of course this man, do you know if he built that house, Willowdene?
Probably.
It said mid-1800s, but he was in the Civil War, and do you think the house was after the Civil War? We'll have to find out.
It was after. Probably after.
This photo was taken around 1908 in front of that house. And you've listed everybody, Willowdene, so when people come in, they can look at the family. That just adds so much to it when you know where the man lived that had it and his old reunion with Confederate soldiers. What a story.
One of the last reunions we had, we were all sitting around the tables eating, and Dale was just knee-high to a grasshopper.
Your son.
And we looked up, and Dale was running around the house, and there was a great old big turkey after him. He had been pestering the turkeys.
Oh, my gosh, so they can get mean. A turkey?
Oh, yeah. They'll follow you and peck you. We used to have turkeys.
Oh, what a great memory, Willowdene.
You see him running around that house.
Oh, my. So when people come in and look, just think about Willowdene's son, little Dale, running around that house with a turkey chasing him. Oh, what a great story, Willowdene. What a great memory. Abe, the violin played with the house and the photos in there. What year do you put on that about? That it was made, what year?
Mid-1800s. It was a HOPF. This is a Stainer. It was made in the later 1800s. But violin makers started making violins in 1600.
Wow.
And a lot of people copied it. This is a copy, I'm sure.
But later than the one in the display case. Okay. My goodness. But, Willowdene, now this was owned by the same Mr. Handley?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Same one. Can you play, Abe?
Yeah. See?
And I can dance to it.
These came out of the same house. They were used there.
Andrew Hanley. They were
And it's amazing.
rug beaters.
I'll say it again. I didn't have it up.
They were rug beaters. To clean your rug, you didn't have a vacuum cleaner back in those days. You used your hand hitting
Well, they are amazing, but out of the same house, Willadine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is. And my goodness, and I mean, they've got to be 150 years old at least, wouldn't you think? Really old items, but what treasures. Absolutely. And then, Willadine, also, you have something not out of that house, but out of your own family.
Yes.
A wonderful old Bible. Now, what date did you find on this, Abe? You looked through it.
I have a piece of paper sticking out somewhere. They're supposed to have. Have I moved it? It's supposed to be a piece of
And
paper.
it's not there. That's something here. Here's something, Willadine. But is that it or no?
Yeah. Right here. Yes.
Now, Willadine, this is a treasure from your own family. And who owned this?
My grandfather, Alfred Lafayette Sides from Carbon Hill.
And the date on this, it says Jerusalem Chamber, Westminster Abbey, July 1884. What a treasure.
It has some beautiful colored illustrations.
Isn't that a surprise?
Perfect color. But this hard.
It has a 1611 edition of the King James Version.
Well,
Original King
well, I
James.
won't be able to find
So
this.
even though this Bible was, it was printed, but it has illustrations.
Not one of the colored ones.
Look at this. Isn't that a great
Well, they're just,
painting?
I've turned every single page in here, but I didn't mark things.
Well, that's okay.
This is,
Places for family portraits. My gosh. And think about that. This Bible was printed in 1884, and they have a spot for photos. And then, of course, these illustrations are photos. Well, Dean, these are incredible. Oh, my gosh, look at this in color. Look at this color. Let me get that good.
there's some brighter than that.
And your grandfather. There's so many illustrations. Weren't you surprised? The apostles, evangelists. Be careful so you don't rip it.
They're just, I should mark the colored pictures or illustrations.
Oh,
I don't know what that is.
beautiful.
This is,
But there's an image. You
Is
know
that
what
the-
that looks like?
well, you know, I can't make
Some
it.
kind of
Some
pool.
pools. Solomon's pools.
Solomon's.
And I don't,
No, I thought it might be Masonic, on top of Masonic.
I know you can't make.
I need a copy of the cover too.
Yeah, when we get there, she was going to try to find some more. That one picture, the color was so vibrant. Oh, here's another Blondine, I think.
Well, that's the fading.
Oh, it's just fading.
Can you tell?
That might have been color at one time. The Ascent of Elijah. That is amazing. And again, I think that was two versions, wasn't it, Willadine? You said. And even in that day, 1884, look at that. Ruth and Naomi.
Kind of feel and tell when there's a picture.
Oh,
It's thicker. back up with this because it goes.
Moses and Aaron before the Pharaoh. The illustrations are just beautiful. Oh. You know, and it's so nice to see the artist, you know, back in the, it would be before the 1800s because they used some. Did you find the oldest date, Abe? You said 16. You saw an illustration from
King James version was 1611.
Oh, okay. Tell everyone this is a wonderful display here, right? Well, it is. Thank you so much for showing us your family treasures, and Abe for doing the research. You're a good fella. We thank you so much, Willadine, and that Bible. Oh, it's just. That was just frosting on the cake, but the musical instruments, this was just a perfect. I know they were happy to get that. Everyone's going to really enjoy this event.